Tobey Maguire? Where you been, buddy? You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of Pawn Sacrifice.
Poor kid from Brooklyn against the whole Soviet Empire.
You don't look well, Robert James.
And they're all out to screw me. The Russians and the Jews.
We are Jewish. Bobby is Jewish. What do your people say to him when he comes out with this trash?
People think there are all these options, but in the end, there's no place to go.
Bobby!
You might crack.
Bobby won't crack. He will explode.
You know, Tobey Maguire hasn't actually made a lot of movies. He first shrewdly made his mark with several impressive supporting roles in The Ice Storm, Pleasantville, The Cider House Rules, and Wonder Boys, before graduating to leading man status with Spider-Man. And boy did fans love him in that role. His trilogy made hundreds of millions of dollars when that was tough to do, and during that run, Maguire also starred in the solid horse racing movie Seabiscuit. But then Spider-Man 3 hit, and it was such a horrifying mess that it took out everyone in its wake. Kirsten Dunst still hasn't recovered. Sam Raimi, he took a 2-year break before directing Drag Me to Hell, then Oz the Great and Powerful 4 years after that, but these days he mostly produces. As for Maguire, he co-starred in Brothers in 2009, The Details in 2012, and The Great Gatsby in 2013. The first two were box office flops, although he was nominated for an Oscar for Brothers, and the third, well, the spotlight was on Leonardo DiCaprio and the modern soundtrack, not Maguire. But like fellow actors DiCaprio, a longtime friend, and Brad Pitt, Maguire is becoming a prolific producer, and not just on films where he stars. Maguire produced Country Strong with Gwyneth Paltrow, Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise, Good People with James Franco, Z for Zachariah with Margot Robbie, and the upcoming The Fifth Wave with Chloe Moretz. And now he's also produced a star vehicle for himself to ease himself back onto the silver screen, and that's Pawn Sacrifice. It's a nice little prestige pick with Edward Zwick of Glory and the Last Samurai directing and Stephen Knight of Dirty Pretty Things and Locke scripting. Liev Schreiber, Peter Sarsgaard, and Michael Stolberg co-star. As I said, a nice little picture, but dare Maguire dream it could be a little something more? Newbie distributor Bleecker Street is launching the film, and while the company was started by the former co-CEO of Focus Features, it has no track record when it comes to running awards campaigns. Plus, Bleecker will have his attention divided, as it'll also be campaigning for Trumbo and its co-release with Netflix, Beasts of No Nation. And then, of course, are people still interested in Cold War chess celebrity Bobby Fischer? To many people today, the 1993 movie Searching for Bobby Fischer is how they know the name. So does Tobey Maguire have a real movie here, just a career building block, or neither? So like most people, I've dabbled in chess. For instance, when I was little, my mother insisted I join my middle school chess club, which I did. But while I know how to play chess, I never really got chess. I never understood why people were so fascinated by it. That is until I saw a little movie called Pawn Sacrifice. And that a movie, which is a visual medium, can so accurately capture what makes a cerebral game like chess compelling, well, that makes Pawn Sacrifice all the more impressive. And in addition to the chess angle, I also really like how Pawn Sacrifice portrays the fame game. I mean, so often in movies, they make it look like a cakewalk, right? Like, just keep being fabulous you. But that's not the case. And I think Pawn Sacrifice is very realistic in showing both Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky having to continue to perform, to hold on to their fame, and also dream up new ways to capture the public's attention. And that adds a really interesting layer to their relationship beyond the US versus Russia elements. Now, I have to warn you, the first 15 to 20 minutes of Pawn Sacrifice are a little shaky. And the movie's going to begin, and you're going to be like, that Grace doesn't know what she's talking about. This movie's totally mediocre. But just wait for it. Because once Tobey Maguire shows up and finds his footing, it just becomes fascinating. Not only for the reasons that I just mentioned, but also, of course, for its portrayal of Bobby Fischer's mental illness, of which the movie is very respectful. And it also hints that it's perhaps not totally unwarranted, at least when it comes to his paranoia. And, you know, of course this is Tobey Maguire's movie. It's a real actor's showcase. But I think it's very commendable that he surrounded himself with a fantastic supporting cast. In particular, Peter Sarsgaard stands out, his priest who helps train Bobby Fischer and, keep him on his toes, because he brings a lot of warmth to the movie. I really liked his performance here. And also, Liev Schreiber is just perfectly cast as Boris Spassky, this Russian chess celebrity who is both chafing at the bit of communism, but is still cool enough and self-confident enough to rattle the very unsure of himself Bobby Fischer. There's a scene between the two which is just perfect. I don't know if it really happened, but it just perfectly captures the relationship between the two of them. And it's when Bobby Fischer, after a crazy night, finds himself waking up on the beach, and lo and behold, to his surprise and horror, there's Boris Spassky emerging from the ocean, emerging from the Pacific after a morning swim. And Spassky just looks like this cross between like a Greek god and a rock star. And it just really just gets to Bobby Fischer, especially because Fischer is just struggling so much, as I said, with those pressures of fame. And they don't immediately make it clear that Boris Spassky is having some of the same problems. So that was just such a great bit of movie making. I was really impressed. But I have to say, in large part, Ed Zwick and Stephen Knight are content to stay in the background. A lot of times when you have movies, the directors will have showy camera angles, and the writers will put in, snappy banter and crackling monologues. But here, Zwick and Knight are very disciplined, and they really make this a movie where the story and the actors, the performances, speak for themselves, which I appreciated. It's really a great movie. And I think just because someone's contributions, in this case, the behind-the-camera contributions, aren't so overt, doesn't mean they aren't stellar. So I think this is a wonderfully crafted movie. And again, it finally makes me understand the chess phenomenon. And I can't recommend it highly enough. And it's a shame it isn't doing better during awards season. I think it deserves to get more recognition than it's getting. But then again, awards season is just as political as chess, and even more so because there's no clear winner of each match. So that's my review of Pawn Sacrifice. If you've seen the movie, I would love to hear what you think about it down below. And even if you haven't, what are your thoughts on it? Are you anticipating it? Do you plan to go and see it? And then, of course, you can check out some other episodes right now.